Today I'm teaching you about top lane. If you want to improve, you need to start with your laning phase as it dictates how the rest of the game goes. But here's the thing, I'm not here to talk about the top 10 laning phase tips or counter picks, because that's not what you need. What you need is to understand the concepts that drive good decision making. So these are going to be the 6 pillars that you can apply to every single game you play. And if you follow this blueprint, I guarantee your rank will skyrocket. I know this works because League of Legends is my life. I've played this game for more than 30,000 hours, I've been challenger for the last 6 years, and I've coached hundreds of people, and it all boils down to these 6 fundamental concepts. First, we have wave manipulation. In top lane, gold and XP leads are what decide a matchup's outcome. A consistent way to deny your opponent gold is to set up something called a freeze. Most top lane matchups are decided once a freeze occurs, and you need to know how to set it up and how to prevent it from happening to you. We need to slow push a wave to set up a freeze. What's a slow push? It's when we have a slight minion lead that is slowly pushing towards our opponent. A slow pushed wave will inevitably crash into the enemy tower. If we don't do it cleanly, it will become an awkward mess. That's called an awkward crash. If an awkward crash occurs, we can't find a recall timer and the wave can become stuck in front of the enemy turret. The fix is to hard shove the last wave before crashing the 2 or 3 waves simultaneously into the tower. The result is a nice big wave going into the enemy turret. Next, we need to freeze to gel our opponent after coming back from their 9 to 5. How do we freeze? We need to manipulate the waves. When we crash a wave under the enemy tower, our wave will die. But the wave coming out of the base on the enemy side will be stopped to hit our wave. Meanwhile, the same wave on our side is not stopped. And because of this, those waves will meet closer to their side of the lane. This causes a weird phenomenon where his minion wave will be reinforced first by the next waves, and thus their waves winning the fight. The result is the wave slow pushing towards us. If we're crafty enough, we can then have the wave on our side of the lane, when his wave is bigger, constantly slightly pushing towards us, but not fully crashing into our tower. This makes it so that the wave is stuck on our side of the lane, where we are safe from all-ins and ganks, since we are close to our turret, while they are constantly vulnerable to those things, because their turret is in Africa. We need to make sure their wave is only 2 to 3 minions bigger than our wave, otherwise our wave will lose too hard and die too quickly. If that happens, we're forced to hold the waves ourselves and take damage until our next wave arrives. That's why we perform some maintenance on the wave, which is called thinning the wave out. We try to make sure their wave is around 2 to 4 minions in surplus. Try to have a 50-50 balance of casters and melee creeps as well. If we recall during a freeze and the freeze isn't maintained properly, it will crash too quickly and we might lose out on too much farm. We can also proxy, which makes the next wave meet in the middle due to the waves not stopping. This lets you recall before your opponent, since they still need to catch the wave. That can be good if you don't want to freeze, because maybe you can't kill them on the freeze if you know your matchup, and this lets you come back with an item lead unless they also reset. But then they'd surrender wave control because they'll be back in lane later than you are, and that lets you get back the slow push. Furthermore, we never want to move to plays that are far away if we haven't shoved our wave first. We cannot sacrifice early game unless the play is absolutely guaranteed to be good. If your jungler is getting invaded, that's not really your problem. If a big wave is crashing into your turret and there's a fight in river, we look away. Do not move to plays before pushing waves. And this right here is a good example of that. Here, the enemy top laner, who is Nocturne, he ends up shoving top and moving to the mid wave, and I, as an idiot, didn't ping it, and my Lucian ends up getting caught and dying because of it. Now, the thing is, if I matched his move, if I were to move to mid right now, not only would I be too late by the time I'm there, the fight would already be over, but also I'd be losing out on a full cannon wave, and Nocturne could just walk back top and catch that wave. So my priority is to just shove the wave in and take the plate. Now I take a plate, and now Nocturne's back, right? So here I'm just gonna lane a little bit, push the waves out, slow push into hard push, and I have priority for grubs. Now I'm just gonna keep the wave in the middle like this. If my jungler needs help on grubs, I'll be able to move there. If my jungler isn't going to be fighting on grubs, I will not be moving, and I'm just going to be shoving the wave. But again, Nocturne went bot lane, and now I take a plate, I go for the proxy. Nocturne, because of all these roams, even though he helped his team, he is so weak now that he can't really get back to lane without me just killing him before he even gets back to his turret. He bypasses this by doing this really weird pathing. I end up killing him. I end up shoving the waves out, again taking a plate. He's constantly roaming, but I ended up being so strong this game because of the fact that I didn't miss any waves myself, that even though my team fell behind because of Nocturne, I was able to 1v9 this game in the end. I think I went 11-0 or something. No, I went 15-4 and I completely 1v9 this game because I just stuck to my laning phase plan and I never skipped any waves. Reset timers. Whenever a wave is pushing away from us, we have a turn. Usually on our turn, we can threaten to play aggressively to set up a freeze. If we get a big trade and recall after crashing the wave, our opponent will be in a health and item deficit. That means on their turn, we are a lot stronger and that lets us set up a freeze. We can't always reset. In top lane, even a small XP lead can snowball to a massive deficit. That's why we want to crash waves before resetting whenever we can. After crashing a wave on our enemy tower, as long as our wave is bigger than 5 creeps, we won't lose too much when we walk back to base. Usually 1 or 2 melee creeps, which is negligible. In this example, I don't get priority early, and I'm gonna let myself be pushed in. Now, Gwen wants to damage me a lot on her turn while the wave is pushing towards me, because she knows that if she recalls and comes back and I'm like half HP, she'll be able to set up the freeze and deny me a lot of resources and put me in a very vulnerable position. So, me knowing that, I'm going to be playing around it preemptively. So I'm going to be preserving my health bar as much as possible so that I'm healthy enough to play the bounce. That is also why I'm taking Ignite, because in a lot of these matchups, you want to be taking aggressive summoner spells, knowing that your opponent will all-in you on their freeze. So what we do is we just let the wave push towards us, we catch the wave on the turret safely, and now we have a lot of playground to play with our health being around full HP right now. So now it's my turn. The wave is pushing away from me, which means I have the level ups advantage, I have the mean advantage, and I just want to deny her from ever touching any minions. Some champions are stacking champions, such as Gwen and Aurelia, Tryndamere, Gnar, Yorick, right? These champs have stack mechanics. And they're better when it's their turn, but when it's not their turn, they don't have access to these stacks very often. And that allows you to play very aggressively. So you can see I'm even dropping some CS, I'm dropping some gold, not the XP, but the gold for some minions just to get really good trades. Because I know that as long as I get really good trades, I'll be able to either dive them, kill them straight up, or be able to recall after crashing the wave and set up a freeze when it's their turn. As you can see, I killed her, and if we speed up a little bit, then the wave is pushing towards me again, so it's her turn again. I'm going to preserve my health bar a little bit, and now she ends up not walking the wave into the turret, which lets me set up the freeze, and now the wave is frozen, and since I killed her earlier, I should be stronger on this freeze, and I'm going to just be looking to contest the freeze. Now you see how I'm not like all-inning her. I know that I'm not stronger because, again, look at her wave. If I fight her in this massive wave, I will lose, and I don't have the best combat items, right? Swifties are not the best in a 1v1 combat scenario, but they're more good for kiting and stuff. So I'm just gonna give her the crash here, unless she, again, doesn't walk the wave into the turret. Here, she doesn't walk the wave into the turret, which makes it an awkward crash, which lets me set up the freeze again. So I'm just gonna walk with the wave, make them attack me all the way here, and now, again, the wave will be frozen, so she's gonna have to fight me in order to break that freeze. She did break the freeze because 3 caster creeps is not roughly enough to actually get a perma-freeze. However, the wave is slowly pushing towards her. So again, what I do is I just don't let her touch the wave entirely. She walks up to try and get the XP, but the more aggressive you play on your turn, the better it will be for when it's her turn. And I even get a kill here because she just disrespected my level 6 timer a little bit, and I played around it. We can also reset after proxy farming. This has advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are you don't lose in XP and gold, you deny your opponent a free reset, and you can make plays on the map. The disadvantages are the wave doesn't push towards you anymore, so no freeze. You're in enemy territory, and you're letting the opponent farm freely under turret. Now, note that not every champion can proxy, especially early game. Champs like Camille really struggle with this, and champs like Olaf or Darius are a little bit better at this. Usually I start proxying in my matchup once I get a big lead. If you're playing against a tank and you have like a 2-level lead, it's not really about snowballing your lead anymore. You kind of want to help your team, and the only way to do that is to proxy waves and TP to bot, or proxy waves and invade enemy jungler, or make plays on enemy mid laner. So you're letting your opponent get a lot of resources, but in return you're allowed to make more plays on the map. This is a good example of when you want to proxy. I'm very strong in the 1v1 in my matchup. I'm a level up and a lot of gold up. So my Darius opponent is walking to mid after crashing the wave. I make use of this and just hard shove the wave as hard as possible, take the plate, and then I just proxy the wave, right? So I kill the wave before it even reaches the lane. So here I kill it, and then I have the option to either reset, keep proxying, maybe even stop him from walking back to lane. I see this Veigar is overextended on mid lane, so I end up walking there and I just look for the kill. We end up killing him because of my help, and now I get XP and gold for this kill. Plus I go back top lane, and as you can see, I come back to the wave, and look, it's a full untouched wave, 7 creeps out of 7. I get all of the creeps here, and I can keep laning, and now again, my Darius opponent is dead. So what I do is I proxy the wave here, and it allows me to help my Mundo look for invades, maybe kill the enemy jungler when he's doing his camps, maybe even another mid play. Darius is really scared to get back to his turret now, because I could just be sitting here chunking him to 30% health when he walks back to lane because of how much stronger I am, and that allows me to just hit his tower, keep proxying, keep hitting his turret, and at some point just take the entire tower. Jungle tracking. Tracking the junglers is another thing you must do every game. Let's start with the basics. Most junglers want a full clear. Whenever you know where a jungler starts, you know where they will end up going. Since camps respawn in the order in which they were slain, you then also know where they will go on their second full clear, and so on. The simple ward on the enemy jungle camp level 1 lets you know where they're starting, whether you see them there or not. There's a problem though. If we use our own ward, we can get ganked after 3 camps, and here's why. 3 camp speed is the same as when the third wave meets on top lane. So if you don't do a 2-wave crash, you will be in a gankable spot. And you can't guarantee a 2-wave crash in every matchup, since if the enemy shows a bit of resistance, that's impossible. Now, you also don't want to compromise your priority, because priority is super important. So the solution is to ask our team to ward, so that we can ward for our own lane in the case where we want to play for prio and the enemy jungler is starting topside. That way we don't have to die. If you don't get prio anyway, then it doesn't really matter. So ask your mid laner to ward the raptors for you by pinging it and typing it. Now, if our jungler is doing scuttle somewhere and we don't see the enemy jungler there, it's a simple conclusion. They're on the other scuttle. If you see the enemy jungler on the map somewhere and you don't know where they started, you can also click on them and see which buff is falling off first. And that way you know which buff they did first. You can also press tab when you see the enemy jungler on the map and count their CS. Every camp is 4 CS. So if they have 12, they did 3 camps, and 24 is 6 camps, so on. If we know both jungler start positions, we can create a plan. For example, if our jungler is pathing towards us and the enemy jungler away from us, we can do a 2 to 3 wave crash and set up a freeze. Our jungler will be around top lane by the time the freeze is in play, and the enemy top laner is almost guaranteed to die. If it's the opposite way around, we have to respect the enemy jungler's timer, and sometimes you can even try to kill them while they do Scuttle Crab, but this can be a bit risky because the enemy mid laner can move, so make sure you have mid prio. If both junglers path to top, our goal is to have prio for the Scuttle, since that's where both junglers want to be fighting over, and it's a really important objective for the junglers early game. A nice way to play around this is to do a 3-wave crash, proxy wave 4, and then move to the Scuttle, or reset and then move to the Scuttle. These are roughly the jungle timers that you see on your screen right now. Not every jungler has the same clear speed, but they are similar, most of them. And sometimes a jungler does 3 camps into a gank, and then their clear speed is a little bit different. But these are some decent timers to keep in mind. This game is a really good example of jungle tracking. So in this game, I'm playing against a Camille, and I do not get prio early game in this matchup. My jungler is starting topside, and we have a ward on the enemy raptors. So I'm going to assume my jungler is pathing towards bot lane, and the enemy jungler, we don't know where he is yet, but relatively we will know where he is very soon, because either he shows on raptors or he doesn't show there. If he shows on raptors, we know he's going to be pathing towards bot. If we don't see him there, we know that he's pathing from bot to top lane because of the lack of information. So around this timer, we see my Hecarim crossing from his blue buff to his bot side. Now, assuming that Jarvan doesn't have like the slowest clear in the game, since he's not on Raptors yet, we're going to assume that he's pathing towards top this game, because there's no way he's just that slow from red to Krugs to Raptors, right? So he's crossing from Wolves to Raptors, he'll be there in like 1 second. Okay, so since the wave is pushing away from me now, I have to respect on this timer. Camille and Jarvan can set up a freeze, and I would just have to suck it up and wait to get help from my team, or just wait until Jarvan leaves, right? And that's really, really hard for me to do. Now, I'm very lucky because Camille ended up roaming to mid, and my mid laner survived it. As you can see, she roamed here, and that actually just gave me full autonomy of the wave. I could actually just one-shot it before the freeze even happens. And now when Camille goes back top to catch the wave, I made a play on mid because I knew that Jarvan was going to be on top scuttle, so I tried to contest the scuttle crab. And after trying to contest, since I have a timer after crashing flashing my wave, I can even look to continue playing on this mid wave here, which ends me with a kill and Jarvan's flash down. And my mid laner's game is saved because he was really low and he needed to crash that wave. So now I get full tabis on my first base. I can TP back and even end up killing this Camille because of my tabis advantage, which is really, really nice to have. Now, I know that Jarvan started bot side, he's batting towards top, so again, I know that on the second folklore is going to be most likely doing the same thing. So we see Jarvan on Raptors, and I press tab, and would you look at that, he has 36 CS, meaning he did 6 camps plus Scuttle, then he did 2 more camps, right? So that's 28 plus 8, and then he's going from Scuttle all the way to Krugs. Now he doesn't have the perfect CS, right? But now you see 37. It should be 38 CS, or no, it should be 36 CS. 28 plus 4 plus 4, and so he took 1 melee creep from the mid wave, right? But you get the gist. He has 36 CS plus 1 melee from the mid wave, so that means he needs 1 more camp to complete his second folklore, which is 40 CS. And then so here the wave is pushing out towards me, so I know that Jarvan is topside. I know that he's roughly here, so I have to ask myself, can I still trade? Can I still look for this play? Well, in this case, I'm a level 6 aatrox versus level 5 Camille with 2 item components plus a full steel caps. So in this case, since the enemy top and jungler, they're both AD champions and I have steel caps, I decided, yes, I could play aggressively because I'm pretty sure I can just 2v1 them, because Camille will fight me, but then after fighting me, she has to back off, otherwise she'll die, and I can just look for the 2v1. Now, me wasting Jarvan's time here and forcing him to stay is really good for my team because it gives them information and it gives them a relief, right? And Jarvan is just late on his third folklore now. I end up getting dove, so I just respect, I just walk away, recall, come back to lane, lose some creeps, but it's fine. I'm still really far ahead. I can still solo kill my opponent even though they zoned me off of the tower a little bit. Ideally, you don't even take this trade in the first place, but if you think you're stronger and you think you can take the 2v1, then you can just go for it, in my opinion. Level up timers. In League, level up timers are extremely broken. Each level is worth around 500 gold in raw base stats, not including the fact that you get an extra ability. You need to absolutely abuse these level up timers when minions die and respect them when the opponent has them. Here are the level up timers on your screen. You can see that the level 2 timer is the first creep on wave 2 or the first 4 melee creeps and 2 casters. Keep in mind on the first level up timer to level 2, if your opponent or you had an assist prior to the waves meeting, you actually level up after 6 creeps, after the first wave. So make sure that you know this so you can play around it. The level 3 timer is the second creep on wave 3, the level 4 timer is the last creep on wave 4, the level 5 timer is killing the cannon on wave 6, and the level 6 timer is the first creep from the third cannon wave at minute 5. If you don't miss any XP and get a little bit of XP from an assist or kill, you can even get your level 6 timer on the 8th wave instead of the first creep on wave 9. I recommend you turn on the show XP settings for this one since it allows you to track whether you got XP or not from a couple minions. The first example I have is when I'm about to hit level 2. I get prio in this matchup and I know I hit level 2 on the first melee creep of wave 2. So what I do is I already start walking up before the minion even dies. Often what you can do is if your opponent isn't really aware of it, you can let your minions finish off the melee creeps as you're walking towards your opponent, which lets you get those trades and get those level up timers. You level up while you're walking towards them. You don't actually have to be the one executing the minion. In this case, I do end up doing that, but in a lot of cases, you don't even have to last hit the creep. So here I hit the creep and then I just do this trade, right? And this trade is really good because he can't trade back as well. And now on my next level up timer, again, I walk up and I try to get a trade. And well, I get a Q from it. And then he's really low, right? And now I can just look for a kill when I have the freeze. And my jungler ends up coming top lane to kill this guy. Second example I have is, this is also something you can do. When you are about at level 6, you could go into the bush. If you know they don't have vision in that bush, you can level up while in the bush and they won't expect you to be level 6, for example. So here I go into the bush before I level up in the bush, and then I know this Darius doesn't have flash. So if I ult while I'm in the bush, I can look for this kill and it's beautifully executed. And he never expected me to level up there. So that's another trick you can use with your level up timers. Number 5, advantage timers. Sometimes when someone dies in the 1v1, the other person is still stronger. This can be due to the fact that one of you might not have used summoner spells while the other did. If your opponent used double sums to kill you and you didn't, even though they might be heading gold and XP, until their sums come back up, you're usually actually stronger. This is something you need to do every single game when coming back to lane. Track summoner spells, XP, items, and cooldowns. You also need to sometimes hover someone's summoner spells to see if they have Cosmic Insight or not. Sometimes that can catch you off guard. It's really important to know things like Ignite is 180 second cooldown, Exhaust is 240 second cooldown, Ghost is 240 second cooldown. If you use Ignite and Ghost at the same time as your opponent, your Ignite will be up 60 seconds before their Ghost comes up, and that can be the difference maker in the next fight. So make sure you don't get too cocky when you kill someone, because they can still be up in summoner spells. And level 1, make sure you always press tab, check what their setup is, what runes are they running, what summoner spells are they running, and what is their starting item. A lot of times, someone does the wrong starting item. For example, if you're playing Olaf versus Darius, and you do the good setup, you do D-Blade and everything, and they do D-Shield, well then you're going to be stronger in the all-in level 1, and then you can get priority instead of defaulting to surrendering priority, which could be normal in that matchup. Okay, so here I have 2 examples of tracking advantages. Here I all-in this Tryndamere level 1. He ends up flashing on me and I end up killing him. And now I have no Ignite. He does have Ignite, but I have Flash and he doesn't have Flash, right? So I just managed to crash wave 3. I recall, come back to lane, and in my head I have Flash advantage, so I can force an all-in on this guy. Some champions have spells that you can easily flash away from and win the fight immediately, such as like Camille E or Aurelia E. Tryndamere E is a little bit harder, but it's definitely doable. So I'm just going to fight him, right? He E's on me. I'm just going to take this all-in. And the way I play this fight is just purely based on the fact that I have flash advantage. So if he ever E's on me and I flash away from it, he can never really get back on top of me. So you can even see here my intention. If you look at my cursor, I'm right-clicking him, but I'm already dragging my cursor all the way to the bottom left of the screen, so that the moment he E's on me, I just flash away from it. Now he's out of auto range, and now I can just kite him until he's dead, right? That's exactly what happens. I get a second kill, and now this matchup is completely cooked for him. And now I don't want to forget to mention he also used Ignite in that fight. So now again I have Ignite advantage. So when I come back to lane, I'm playing aggressively again, and I get the solo kill because of the fact. I mean, here I just know that if I stand my ground, go on him, Ignite him, he just dies because he's no sums. Another good example is in this game. Nothing really happened up until this point. I end up getting ganked here, so I flash away from the Aurelia E, so I don't take any damage. If you take damage when the wave is frozen, you can't really continue to play the laning phase. So my Ivern comes top lane. We take the 2v2 and I'm igniting the Aurelia here because I thought I would maybe put her low enough to put her into dive range. So my Ivern comes, we take this 2v2 dive. Notice how Aurelia flashes here. She flashes and she also exhausted my Ivern, right? So when I base, this is my thought process here. Aurelia exhausted and flashed. I flashed earlier than her by about 20 seconds. And Ignite has a 60-second lower cooldown than Exhaust. So since I am equal with her, but I'm back in lane faster, what I can do is also I have level up timer here, right? So she can't contest this wave. It's my turn right now. I want to play as aggressively as possible, but once the wave crashes and pushes back to me, I'm just going to play it slow. I'm going to play it safe until I have my Ignite, because I know that if I just don't do anything, let the wave push towards me slowly, set up the freeze. Right now, this is a freeze, right? Now I am much stronger for the next 60 seconds because her exhaust is so on cooldown and I get my Ignite. So I'm just going to look to fight her here. If she doesn't fight me, remember, I'll have a perma freeze. I can zone her from XP. She'll lose a lot of farm. But if she does fight me, she will never win that because I am able to have the combat sum advantage. And this is not even close now. So that is very important. Jungle Fruit. The Jungle Fruit spawns anywhere between minutes 6:05 and 6 minutes 20 roughly. It heals 250 health in total, and it has 4 different possible spawn locations. Stem spawns first, and it shows as a green dot on the minimap if someone has spotted it for you. So when it's your turn, so the wave pushing away from you, you can hard abuse this plant. You can take a massive trade, and even if it's, let's say, a losing trade, just by walking down to the plant and taking it and coming back to lane, suddenly you're full HP again, and now the previous trade, even if it wasn't the best, is a winning trade again. You can also take a trade when the wave is pushing towards you, but it has to be when it's just started pushing towards you, close to the enemy tower. Otherwise, let's say it's close to your tower and pushing towards you, you would just go take the plant, but then your opponent is just gonna get a free reset and you'll lose a lot of farm and they might get some plates. In this example, I am playing Rumble against GP. We're even right now. Nothing really happened so far. In this case, I need to crash this wave. If I don't crash this wave, it's going to be in an awkward crash spot for a long time. I need to make sure that I push this wave into his turret very, very effectively and fast, because I don't want it to stay in this spot. So I take quite some damage here in order to crash that wave. I traded roughly 300 health to make sure that crashes. So I know that it's 6 minutes. So I know if I go to the plant, I'll make sure that I can come back with 250, or in this case, I didn't grab the 5th one. So roughly 180, I think, HP now, because it's only 44 health. At this stage, I grab the plant, I come back to full HP, and now instead of all-inning him with little HP, I can actually take this all-in with all my HP and be a complete threat to him, which normally would not be the case, right? Like this fight here, I would be very scared to take this fight if I wasn't in such a good condition. And he's dead. You're guaranteed to climb if you get good at these 6 things. I suggest you guys set up a learning objective where you focus on one at a time, and then every week you move on to a new one. That's it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for more educational content. I also have coaching that I do one-on-one, so make sure you check out the link in my bio. I think that's all for me. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and have a lovely day.